Man should not rule over man. Let knowledge rule again. The book of light, book of books, and savior of mankind. Aum. Politicians and religion are the fall of man. We don't need no institutions and no government. All we need is that which bonds united us all. Let the angels' teaching be your guiding star. The book of light and love. With the book of light, you're guided from above. We don't need no holy scriptures, no Bible and Quran. We have that where they all come from, in our very hearts. We are the new generation of innocence and peace. Knowledge is our leader. The truth shall set you free. It is the book of light, the book of light and love. With the book of light, you're guided from above. When the world is burning left and right, there is a pillar of hope, and it is called the Book of Light. It is the Book of Light, the Book of Light and love. With the Book of Light, you're guided from above. It is the Book of Light. It is the book of
Welcome to the era of U.G. Krishnamurti. It's not the other Krishnamurti, but it's a student of him, you could say. He was a theosophist. And he is a fascinating personality because he leads you nowhere. You leave him as helpless as you came and dissatisfied. And let's see if this man is not just hiding his ignorance. And he throws his ignorance back on you, and you say, I'm as ignorant as him, and I don't have the answers to my questions, because he will not answer your questions. He will not answer them to your satisfaction. And so let's see. Let's find out. And I pass on here the knowledge of the Book of Light, huge scripture dictated to me by the Mahachohan, thousands of pages. You can have it at no expense. If you want the link, I can give it to you. It's a PDF. But also, I refer to a little book, Divine Message from the True God. And there's another book, Divine Message from the True God, in German and English, in one book. You can find it on Amazon. And let's see, you see, these people see U.G. Krishnamurti as a guru. And let's see if he is just pretending to be ignorant, or if his message, there is nothing, is really satisfying. And satisfying the answers of those people who come to him, who declare him to be his guru. Satyamnasti paradharma, iti maya shrutam, thus have I heard. And I call him therefore the false guru, because guru means the leading principle in you that has all the answers. The guru in you should be the song that you hear at the end. And somebody who doesn't lead you to the guru in you is actually misleading you. So H.G. Krishnamurti is misleading many people. He tells them there is nothing. Let's see. Because they have the feeling there is something. What is there? U.G. Krishnamurti. What is there? And he said, there's nothing. U.G. Krishnamurti asked the person who asked him, does it make any sense what I say to you? He confuses her from the beginning. He asks, does it make sense to you what I say? She says no. And suddenly she says, yes, it does. He, to use a friendly word, he plays with her brain. With her brain. That's what he does. You see, this is true. A true guru has to confuse you first. He has to put in question all your values, to slash and hammer them. Jesus said, I didn't come to make peace. I came to bring the sword. See? And your friends will be your enemies when you follow me. So let's see what U.G. Krishnamurti is doing and how he is misleading people, as fascinating as it may be. He confuses the person by saying, there's no point in asking me because you have the answer already, which is true. But he lets her hang there. What answer? If the answer is in that person, is he helping that person to answer the question? Because at the same time he asks, there are no questions, there's no answer. So he is, excuse me, fucking with her brain. It's true. He tells her, you ask questions of which you already have answers. And then he concludes from that there's no question and no answer. He's completely messing her up. Yeah? He says to her brutally, you have the assumption that I have the answer to your question. But you know nothing about me. How do you assume that I have the answer to your question? And he confuses her completely. Dear friends, this woman will lead him as helpless as she came. Why is he there to tell her that? He says, the way you look at me is not the way I am. Who said that she wanted to know who he is? She had just questions. This fascinating personality, U.G. Krishnamurti, did not understand Blavatsky, although he was surrounded by theosophical teachers. You see, this is why we have the Book of Light and its branch scriptures. And we have it also translated in German in 10 volumes. And because he didn't understand, he thinks there is nothing to understand. And he talks always about me and you. And actually, he doesn't understand that he talks about anatta, about the non-self, about the upadhis, about the vahans, about that which he is not. Let's see. You see, I give you the link to that video, and you will see what I mean. He bluffs with the right answers. The things are constantly changing, he says. That's right, that's right. Constantly. That's why you are not the things. That doesn't mean there is no you. The one who is aware of the changing of the things, of coming and going, of the anatta, of the non-self, to which we are attached, more or less, that is the true self. You can only find it, or find the truth, by detaching from that which you are not, which you are aware of arising and passing away. And he doesn't point to that. He lets her stick in the anatta. Talks about a photographer who sees through different angle. He sees you through a different angle. No, that's not right, Krishnamurti. He sees what she is not through a different angle. And you fail to understand that. And now she asks him a daring question. Is the reason that I trust in you that there is something inside of you and me? Is that the reason? Is that as it is? Is there something inside of me? And now he presents as an answer his ignorance in a fascinating way. He says, there's nothing inside of you. There's nothing else but this. That is wrong. And that is the state of his ignorance, and that's why he leaves her helpless. The real you is the one that is more or less attached to that which you are not. The body, emotion, mind, soul, even spirit. These are just layers. And this is why we need the Book of Light to understand that there is something else. And she knows that there is something else. And she asks him, what is there? His answer should have been, ask rather, what am I not? Whatever I experience as arising and passing away, I am not. Somebody could say, well, my body is arising, is aware of things that are arising and passing away, so I am my body. No, you are also aware of your body changing. So in order to understand who you really are, the one attached to what you are not, you would have to meditate. To detach from that which you are not and to experience the truth. And he fails to understand that. And he bluffs in a fascinating way, leaving the questioner helpless. She comes even more helpless than she went there, because she expected an answer from him. He didn't give her the answer because he didn't have the knowledge. And he hides his ignorance in phrases, and he plays ping pong with your brain. And that fascinates you, because he said, oh, what does he mean? And you go more and more to him to understand what he means. But he doesn't have the knowledge to really give you the answer to your questions. And he lets you hang in there. The false guru, U.G. Krishnamurti. And it seems like this U.G. Krishnamurti is in himself, like words, searching from what is there, because he asks her, what is there? If I would have been sitting there, I would have said, there is that which is attached or detached. You are right now identifying yourself with what you are not. I would have answered him. Come to the Book of Light. Stop being a false guru who confuses people. And in this way attaches them to him the blind is leading the blind. And he repeats his ignorance by asking, what are you? Maybe he hopes that she can tell him. Wrong question. Ask, what are you not? You see, Yuji, are you listening to me? He's dead in astral realms. If you want to understand what is the core of a fruit, the seed, all you have to do is take a knife and remove the husk. All you have to do is study the Book of Light, begin with this little book. All you huge Krishnamurti people who are so fascinated by him. He has misled you in believing there's nothing else than that. And he defines exactly, correctly the anatta, that what you're not. He asks the woman, are you your hopes, your fortune, your anxieties, your fears, your anger? Are you this or that? Are you that? And the answer should come from him. You are not that. You just have those questions, hopes, anxieties, because you are looking for the answer in the transient world. Like somebody who is diving in the water looking for dry situation. And he should tell her, should have told her, you're not your anxieties, you're not your anger, you're not your fears, you're not your hopes. All these are actions done, you're not even your consciousness. Because consciousness is a physical thing. When you see something, you have eye consciousness. But this is something caused by attachment to your physical body. So by detaching from that which you're not, and you can detach from your anger, not by denying it, no. By meditating, observing it as it arises and passes away, and as seeing it correctly as not yourself. But the Guru, Yuji Krishnamurti, misleads his people, at the same time fascinating them. He asked the woman, you try to find a meaning? Do you see any meaning? Well, you would have to define, to analyze the word meaning. The meaning, the purpose, is a purpose that you give to everything. You give a purpose to physical manifestation, to heavenly manifestation, well, then you will get it. And you will experience that you gave a purpose to something that you are really not, because it is arising and passing away. It has to do with transiency. Detach from the false thought. That would be the right answer. He tells the woman, you are the one that is living. Now let's analyze that. The monad or being, and he should know what a monad is because he was in a Theosophical Society, is diving into metta, surrounding itself with metta, and then identifying that as life and as being itself and suffering from it. So are you the one that is living? You are the one that is experiencing a death process, because birth is the beginning of the death process, and death is the end of the dying process. He doesn't know all that. He is caught in his ignorance that by genius he spreads and leaves them as helpless as they came, and even more. And they say, oh, I gotta listen to him again. The blind are following the blind. He says correctly that everything is the expression of life. But life only is there if you identify with metta. Then Mula Prakriti, or root metta, has its way of dealing with your desire, with your trishna. And you walk through different kingdoms of nature, mineral, plant, animal, man, angel, gods, devas, the supermonad, the first emanation, and so forth. He fails to explain to her that there is a way out of it. By understanding who you are not. He says you call it life because you are responding to the stimuli. It's not true. What you are not is responding to the stimuli. See, you see something and you like it. You see something and you don't like it. You see something and you are equal to it. Or all these are response to the stimuli done by the physical body or by the astral body, by the linga sharira, by other structures that surround you. And you follow that response, identifying it with yourself. And you follow the response. Your eye sees something, likes it. I said, okay. Your ear hears something, like it. Okay, a song, a sound. You follow the response of your anatta to the stimuli of other anatta. You are in the grasp of your material body, which you are not. Painfully, you experience it life after life, death after death. And at the moment of death, you want to continue to existence in it. That causes your reincarnation. He fails to explain that to you. He shares with this poor woman his ignorance. And she feels familiar and comfortable with it because she is ignorant too. Yeah? He's like one who is in the swamp, but a little bit higher out of the swamp, who explains to others the swamp. But he doesn't explain to them how they got into the swamp. He is like the one of whom the Buddha says, a blind one touches an elephant and he touches the tooth of an elephant and says, this is an elephant. No, these are just the tooth of an elephant. And again, he defines it wrongly. He says to the woman, you say you are alive because you respond to something. No, she doesn't respond. She agrees to the response of the anatta, of the body which she is not, into whose grip she is. You understand that? U.G. Krishnamurti? Maybe you listen to me in Manas Rupa, and you understand it. In your next incarnation, you will not mislead people. He says, you respond to the sensation. No. He yields to the response of his anatta to the sensation. That's the right explanation. That would help her. Then she could ask, how can I re-become that me, being attached to whatever I'm not? Then he could answer. By meditation and by the teaching of the Book of Light. And U.G. Krishnamurti continues presenting his non-knowledge, his ignorance about things as they are. He says, the moment you are unhappy, you want to be happy. No, that's not true. The moment the anatta is happy or unhappy, it wants to reverse the process to being happy or unhappy or continue to be happy. And because the anatta cannot supply that constant happiness, which is always led into unhappiness and vice versa, arising and passing away, the being does a daring experience. It wants to continue to be happy, and it finds itself in a transient world being constantly happy, unhappy, happy, dissatisfying. While the Book of Light teaches, and that little book especially teaches you, that there is a happiness beyond the happiness of the senses. Because the senses lead to happiness and unhappiness. There is pleasure of the senses, no doubt. But it always leads to suffering because of the transiency of the organs that experience the happiness. If you want happiness that cannot be disturbed by unhappiness, you have to detach, you have to look for the happiness beyond the sense pleasures, beyond the senses. And that you reach by meditating, and you come closer and closer to nirvana, the end of suffering. He didn't explain that to her. And again he misleads her by saying there's no difference between the inside and the outside. There's no difference between the true self and that to which it is attached. This is a devastating answer. Because then such a person who asks the question say, well, then I'm caught in the net of samsara, in the net of pleasure and pain, pleasure and pain, pleasure and pain. And in the end, it is all pain, because the pleasure that is taken away from me leads always to pain. So there's no solution. Yes, there is. Let go of what you're not. Not by suicide, but by following the teaching and by meditation. Or, if you want to return as painless as possible, maybe in some higher heavenly worlds, which are transient, by the way, too, then live a life of as little attached to the senses as possible. All the sense pleasures, you can experience them, but the moment you are in the trap of the sense pleasure, you are reborn again in a world of senses, with your senses. Sorry. You see, U.G. Krishnamurti doesn't show the way out of suffering. He keeps us trapped in the world of illusion, the samsara. Now that is, I almost want to say, a big crime. He will meet these people again in other lives. And he will understand that he misled them. And he will finally come to the conclusion that whatever you experience as arising and passing away, you are not. That doesn't mean that there is no you. It just means that your nu is right now attached to it. You can detach from it. You can end the path of suffering. And now he answers correctly without explaining her what it means. He says, you are not really looking at something. That's true. God, your anatta is looking, your eye. Your nose is smelling, your ear is hearing, your tongue is tasting. But that's not you. It is the reaction of your body that you caused by diving into Mula Prakriti, by leaving the source, by identifying with matter. It's your body that wants this and that, not you. He was right. But it doesn't lead him to the right conclusion and to the correct answer. And he shows his ignorance of the truth, and that he says the right thing first. He said, the knowledge is not you. What you see and hear and that is not you. That's correct. And he said, this was given by somebody. By whom? It was given according to your trijna or tanha, to your desire, by, for instance, manasaputras. Most of it you acquired yourself by diving into material world, by surrounding yourself according to your trijna or state of ignorance with the physical matter. So what I'm not is talking to you. What I really am is using that what I'm not to talk to you. Do you understand? And he explains correctly, you don't even see. Light reflects on an object from an object on your eyes, and that impression, and it is an impression, you give a name. The moment you are in incarnation, you follow the demands of what you're not. He isn't aware of that horrible truth. The man stands before his judge in court, says, Your Highness, forgive me. I killed that man. I didn't want to do it. It just overcame me. Are you ready to deal with your anatta? Then you shouldn't be like U.G. Krishnamurti and leave that poor woman helpless. By surrounding her with answers, with a wild ocean of answers that make you feel like a nutshell on waves, you know. And again, actually, he's right to say you cannot look inside. You cannot. All you can do, you, the true you, the monad, the being, is to detach from the outside. You cannot look inside. All these seminars that tell or teach us you can find yourselves, impossible. You cannot find yourself. Always, whatever you are aware of is not you. And you can detach from it, yeah, or you can identify yourself with it. But when you give it too much space, it will rule you. And then you come like this woman to him, because she's already so in the realm of her non-self, of anatta, and she asks, what is this? And he doesn't give her the correct answer that a 5-year-old could understand. If a 5-year-old would ask him, what's going on here? And he said, well, look into the mirror. Whatever you see there, you are not. That's the tough answer, but that's how it should be given. And correctly, he says, by knowledge, you cannot understand who you are. But by the knowledge of the Book of Light, you can detach from what you are not, and the truth shall set you free, said Jesus. And that is true immortality. Not something that has a beginning and an ending. The people hope for immortality in heaven, something that has a beginning and no end. No way. Or as we say in LA, no way, Jose. The blind are leading again the blind. True immortality has no duration. No duration. Yeah? And true immortality can, of course, not be experienced in the body. But by detaching from the body in meditation, daily meditation, step by step, you will be what you are, God in the making, and then God. And you can leave the source, you can return to the source by letting go of what the source is not, or you can return to it or you can remain in it. Because 3 things are there, says the Book of Light. All beings, the source and root matter. And the three interact periodically. And what the religions claim of their God, that he was never created, Book of Light teaches of everything. Everything is timeless, eternal, uncreated. Anupadaka, parentless, yeah, and interacts periodically, causing the forms, all the forms in the world, everything. Everything is nothing but beings and manifestation in hierarchical order. Glory to the Book of Light. He explains misunderstandingly, I don't know what the word would be, the sensations. The sensations, like pleasure, pain, boredom, this and that, are experienced by anatta, by your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual body. And you identify yourself with them and say, oh, I want to have new. For instance, you don't want to have any more physical pleasures, so somebody lives celibate, and he will create a link to a heavenly world because angels have no sex, or heavenly beings. So, but even that is transient. So celibacy is not the goal, it is a step to nirvana if you really want nirvana, of detachment. Yeah? He says clearly, there is no such thing as unhappiness unless you look for happiness. That's true. When you look for happiness in the transient world, and be it in the highest heavens, I mean, where was the first war? It happened in heaven, no, not on earth, according to Bible and all the other scriptures. See, the Book of Light is a union of all scriptures, sciences, religions in the world, declaring them all to be right, if you remove their symbolic husk. So if you want to be happy in this world, you cause the unhappiness to happen sooner or later. But he fails to point towards a being of truth that is beyond the world of, or there is another happiness beyond that happiness which you are looking for here. And there is another happiness that cannot be taken away from you, and that is you. If you dare to detach from desire or trishna for happiness in hell, earth, or heaven. Of course there is sense pleasures. If there wouldn't be sense pleasures, nobody would want them. But you see, those who seek for sense pleasures doesn't know that they have in their tail unhappiness, pain, suffering. Suffering of transiency, caused by transiency. Because who wants to let go of a happy moment? So there comes the unhappiness. Now you want to repeat the happy moment. See, for instance, you eat a delicious meal. That tastes so good. So now, I'm full. So after a while, a new, other than normal hunger, so to speak, there comes the memory of the pleasurable of that eating. And there you have already crossed the border. If you would only eat to keep the body alive, to detach from him. Oh well, okay. And again, he tells the truth, but with wrong understanding. He says, if you get what you want, you are happy. If you got what you don't want, you're unhappy. But the one that really is causing, that really wants, is the body itself. You permitted him to rule over you by having sexual desire. You experience the reaction of the body as pleasure, so you want it again. But it is the body that leads you into it. You understand that? It's an anatta, of which all people, all beings in the world are more or less enslaved, to which they are enslaved. The entire world is a state of enslavement, of ignorance. Even the highest God in manifestation is ignorant. Because that what he parts into akasha beings and levels so that others can live there and so forth and so on. That's transient. He's dealing with transient matter, or with matter that is per se not transient, but transient in its forms. You know, all forms constantly fall apart, like waves on an ocean, on a sea. A flat surface of a sea, throw a stone in it, okay, that's an incarnation, let's say. Now come the form. Do they stay? Do they remain? No. Everything. Nature doesn't want you. Nature doesn't want you. It throws you constantly out. Life after life. And again you say, I won't. Nature says, go, get out there. Think about that. And he says, exactly what I said now, you want to constantly repeat happiness, and when unhappiness comes, you want happiness again. That's correct. He then declares and admits to his ignorance and says, I don't know anything about myself. Yeah, because the self is beyond knowledge. When you are caught in matter, you still want to know. When you want to liberate yourself, you want to even get rid of your knowledge, but you can only do that when you are given the tools of what the entire world is in order to detach them from it. You use that knowledge to then get rid of the knowledge. That's true. But he doesn't show the way out. And he says correctly, the knowledge that we have is the knowledge of things. If we would just continue and say, is the knowledge of that which we are essentially not. We can continue by reincarnation living in that illusion, which always destroys all the forms. Even the highest angels one day will come together and be drawn to the source. Or he should continue we can detach from that which we are not, which causes constantly our suffering, because we follow its demands. See, the moment you dive into metta, metta has its own laws, its own desires. Book of Light teaches that once we were spiritual beings, we had everything, but it wasn't enough, no? We wanted more. And our spiritual structure, we had left the source already, but on the highest level we found ourselves, and we created astral, etheric parts that were grabbing more and more. That tastes good. We were eating by osmosis. Metta went through us and on the other side out. Today, since we are so dense, in here and they're out. Caught. And our reactions to material world, which, by the way, teaches, get out. He should have said, we don't belong here. But we are there, even when we are not here anymore. Let's say we have detached ourselves. We belong there where we came from. People ask, if there is reincarnation, why don't I remember? First of all, you do remember by seeing a person that you never saw before. Immediately you have a response, either positive or negative. But apart from that, and talent is another explanation. See, if somebody, a Mozart wrote with 7 years a symphony, how can you learn that? That was a person, a monad, a being that had many lives of music. And Salieri was jealous of him. Because he said, God, and he blamed God. God, he is an immoral being, this Mozart, with those orgies. You speak through him, your music comes through him, and me, who is even celibate. I am just mediocre. I hate you, God, for that. That's what Salieri said. And he worshipped Mozart, but he hated him at the same time. This is what ignorance causes. Huh? See, and now U.G. Krishnamurti gets completely confused in that he answers and says, you see something there, you hear something there, you smell something there, and there is nothing else. And that's wrong. That is wrong. That to which you cling sees, hears, smells, touches, tastes. But that's not you. It's just that to which you cling, which you permit to have these experiences. And to be constantly out of balance. But he doesn't know that. He tells you there is nothing else. That is wrong. That is his misunderstanding. And we will dismantle this false guru in our next video. So, see you soon.